Attention Bears fans, two behind-the-scenes moves could completely change the face of the defense in 2025, and one of them involves a name that was once a dream for the front office, would be expensive, and still divides opinions even within the locker room. The other, a veteran with Super Bowl pedigree, carrying the last name of a former Chicago idol, and who could be the mentor that the young secondary desperately needs. Controversy, a risky bet, and family legacy are at stake. Welcome. Show your support for the Bears by reaching 100 likes on today's video. Matthew Judon may be back on the Bears' radar, and the mere mention of the veteran edge rusher's name reignites an important debate. Chicago does need more power in pressuring the quarterback, and Judon, even at 33 years old, can still offer just that. The interest isn't new. In 2024, before he was traded by the Patriots to the Falcons for a third-round pick, Ryan Poles had already explored the possibility. Now, with training camp knocking at the door and the pass rush rotation still lacking, his name is back on the agenda, but with more skepticism than enthusiasm. Judon comes off a quiet season in Atlanta, where he started 15 games and recorded 5.5 sacks, a number far from the 12 or 14 he delivered in his prime years. But context matters. He was returning from a serious biceps injury suffered in Week 4 of 2023. The recent history is concerning, but the resume doesn't lie. He had 43.5 sacks between 2019 and 2022, 4 consecutive Pro Bowl appearances, and a 9th-place finish in the Defensive Player of the Year race in 2022. He's not just anyone. The point is that even in a reduced role, Judon could be the missing piece to elevate this defensive line to a new level. Montez Sweat is the only truly reliable pass rusher on the roster. Dayo Odeyingbo, a newcomer, has talent but plays more inside in obvious passing situations. The depth in the position is shallow, and that could be costly when the games start to matter. Ben Johnson, the new head coach of the Bears, arrived with the mission of revitalizing a franchise that finished 2024 with a 5-12 record and languished at the bottom of the NFC North, while all rivals made the playoffs. The priority was clear: protect Caleb Williams. The offensive line was revamped and the targets in the passing game were reinforced. However, the other side of the ball still has significant holes, especially when it comes to putting pressure on the opposing quarterback, something that, in modern NFL, defines seasons. Bringing in Judon wouldn't be a signing to make noise on paper, but rather in the details. In close games, a decisive pressure in the third quarter can change the fate of a drive. The veteran, even without being a starter, still has that type of play in his repertoire. The ideal contract would be short, with performance-based incentives, allowing the team to protect itself financially without giving up the upside. There are those who criticize his age and recent numbers. That's fair. At 33, Judon no longer has the same explosive burst he had when he terrorized quarterbacks with the Ravens and Patriots. But he remains an intelligent defender, with tactical reading and natural leadership. In a young roster, that is as valuable as statistics. Another point to consider is the style of the new defensive coordinator. Ben Johnson is expected to maintain a hybrid system with multiple fronts and creative blitzes. This benefits players like Judon, who know how to identify the right moment to attack and can align in various positions along the line. He would be a tailor-made piece for third down packages, where his impact can be maximized. The lingering question is whether Bears fans want and accept a short-term bet on a name that has already seen its peak and today offers more presence than consistency. But that's precisely why the timing of the negotiation matters. With training camp about to start, Judon's value may decrease, and Chicago could secure him for a much more competitive price. If the goal is to compete for playoffs and not just develop the rookie quarterback, having depth in the pass rush is not a luxury. It's a necessity. And Judon, despite his limitations, is still a threat on third downs. The front office cannot ignore this possibility again. What Poles and Johnson are evaluating now is simple. Is the risk worth the potential impact? For a franchise that has been flirting with rebuilding for years and never truly gets there, maybe it's time to take a bold gamble, even if temporary. And the truth is that in a transitioning roster, every detail counts. And it's exactly this type of detail that defines winning seasons. But while the defensive line is being discussed, another move could be even more symbolic. For the history, for the name, and for the silent need of the secondary. The name of the moment is Kendall Fuller. Yes, the younger brother of former All-Pro Kyle Fuller, the same one who shined in a Bears uniform between 2014 and 2020. But the potential arrival of Kendall has much more to do with technical need than with family ties. And the attentive fans have already noticed. Chicago's secondary is still not ready to face an entire season at the highest level of the NFC. Fuller is a free agent after a quiet stint with the Miami Dolphins in 2024, where he played only 11 games and accumulated 37 tackles, along with 7 passes defensed. Injuries, mainly 2 concussions, hindered his season. But at 30 years old, with 9 seasons of NFL experience and a Super Bowl ring on his resume, Fuller still has plenty left to give and could be the right veteran in the right place. A Virginia Tech graduate, he entered the league in 2016 as a third-round pick and quickly stood out for his versatility. He can play outside, inside, in zone, or man coverage. During his first stint with Washington, he gained notoriety as a physical cornerback, with good route recognition and solid tackling ability. In Kansas City, he was a key piece in the championship run in 2019, even sealing Super Bowl 54 with a decisive interception. Back in Washington in 2020, he signed a 4-year, $40 million contract and remained a starter until 2023. He recorded 400 tackles and 16 interceptions during that time. In other words, we're talking about a player who, even without being at his physical peak, knows how to play football at a high level and understands the shortcuts on the field like few others. Today, Fuller is at a point in his career where a short-term contract with incentives seems to be the best path for both parties. For the Bears, this means filling a sensitive gap in the roster, depth in the cornerback group. Kyler Gordon and Tariq Stevenson are promising but still inconsistent. Jalen Johnson is the pillar, but any injury or fluctuation could completely destabilize the secondary. Furthermore, Fuller can bring something that numbers don't show: leadership. A player with almost 600 career tackles, respect within the locker room, and playoff experience is exactly the type of mentor that young DBs need. And at this point, the emotional factor, yes, the last name Fuller, cannot be ignored. The fans still fondly remember Kyle, and seeing his younger brother wearing the same uniform could help create a symbolic link between generations. Of course, there are risks. The concussions are a warning sign, and age is starting to weigh. But unlike other positions, experience in cornerbacks tends to be a differentiator, especially in nickel packages or against offenses that exploit 3-receiver formations. Fuller could be that extra defender, ready to step in and contribute without compromising. Ideally, he would arrive before training camp to adapt to the defensive system and compete for real playing time. No one is asking him to be the team's CB1, but rather a solid presence in the rotation, ready to elevate the level in critical moments. And it's worth noting, we're talking about a player who was still productive in 2023, with 80 tackles and 3 interceptions. The physical decline exists, but it's not irreversible. If healthy, Fuller still has a place in any defense that dreams of the playoffs. With Judon pressuring the quarterback and Fuller covering the back end, the Bears' defense could gain in 2 crucial areas: depth and intelligence. But for that to happen, the front office needs to act now, before it's too late. The Bears' defense is still not up to the offensive ambitions centered around Caleb Williams. And if the franchise truly intends to take the next step in 2025, it cannot let these opportunities slip away. Matthew Judon and Kendall Fuller are not long-term solutions, but they are precise pieces for a roster that needs consistency and maturity in the trenches and in coverage. My opinion, Chicago cannot afford to enter September with glaring holes in the defense. The bets are targeted, but the impact could be profound. The time to act is now. And you, Bears fan, would you sign Judon and Fuller, or would you let the team move forward with youth and bet on internal development? Respond in the comments, like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any details of the Bears season.